What is up, guys? It's your boy Show, and today we are looking at the kit for Beast, and we're going to be looking at the pros and cons of each of his abilities and looking at what game modes I think he's going to be the most useful in. So let's get straight into it. So before we go in depth into Beast's kit, let me just say that there are some things that I really do like about his kit, but there are some things that I think could have been done a little bit better, but I suppose this might have made him a little bit too much of an overpowered character. But let's start off with his basic, which says that he's going to attack the primary target and adjacent targets with damage and flip one positive effect, and when it's a counter attack or assist, he's going to do two positive effects instead of one. Now, the good thing that I like about this basic is that it's going to help clear positive effects, and it's not just going to clear them, it's actually going to flip them into negative effects, which I really like because it's going to get rid of annoying things like taunt or death proof of targets like shield security or maybe Cull Obsidian. But the bad thing is that it's only going to clear one positive effect. So if they've got multiple positive effects, there's no guarantee that it's going to take off the annoying taunt or the death proof that you really want to get off so you can target down another character. So that's one feature I didn't really like. I feel like they should have just put it as two positive effects rather than one. I feel like it would have been a little bit more useful. Maybe the T4 could have been two positive effects rather than just one, and that would have been good. But I feel like this could still be a useful ability, maybe on shield security, because it might take off that immunity and flip it to a disrupted so he can't put his taunt back up. But I do feel it would have been better if it was two positive effects rather than one. So that's my thoughts on that basic. It is literally as it says, it's a basic ability. Now I know that his basic does say that he's going to flip two positive effects when he counterattacks or assists, but I feel like it would have just been better if he didn't need to counter attack or assist in order to do this. I feel like it would have just been better without these things and if he just done this in general. But in terms of where I see this ability being useful, it's definitely going to be useful in war and raids, because it's going to get that annoying death proof and maybe some other positive effects off Thanos, and it's going to get that annoying taunt and death proof off Cull Obsidian, off the shield security. It could also flip the immunity to a disrupted so that these characters don't taunt up again. It's going to take that annoying taunt off Sif. So this will actually be quite a useful ability, but it would have been nice if he just flipped two in general rather than one when you use it, and then two if he does a counter attack or assist. But just my opinion. Anyway, let's take a look at the special Volatile Experiment. So with Beast's special Volatile Experiment, I really like how it only costs 3 energy, and I'm a big fan of these abilities that only cost 3 energy, because it means that you can use it more than one time in a matchup, which is really good. You can use it a repeated amount of times, which is nice. I'm really not a big fan of the long cooldowns, because then you can only use it a certain amount of times in one match. I like how he clears negative effects, but it would have been good if he'd done this for the whole team rather than just himself, to make him even more viable on other teams. It would be nice if we could bring him into raids with other characters and that he'd done this for the whole team. But it's still a decent ability, I guess. I like how he also heals 2 of the most injured allies on the team, and it's a very focused heal for 2 of the most injured allies when maybe the whole team doesn't necessarily need it. Now, this is a bit of a double-edged sword. Sometimes this is good. I think this isn't a bad thing. It's not necessarily the best thing, but it's not the worst. I think on an Xmen team, the people who are probably likely to be the most injured is going to be Colossus, because he's going to be the one taunting, so he's probably going to be the one who's most injured. So it will bring him back up and make him even more resilient and a bit more tougher to take down. I think it could sometimes also be Phoenix, who might be the most injured ally, because she could have put everybody into stealth and she might have taken a bit of the damage before everybody comes out of stealth. So that could also be a bit useful. And I don't know if it's just me, but I like this ability because I feel like in U7 all of a sudden that my healer and support characters get pinpointed down a lot, like my Minerva, my Scientist Supreme, and my Ebony Maw. So I feel like Beast could help a little bit outside of the X-Men team with this ability, and I really like that. I think it's really good that he also does AoE damage on his special, which means that he's not just a healer, he's also going to be doing damage when he uses this ability, and it's good that it's available every 3 turns, which is nice. So hopefully this keeps, you know, your team up for a bit longer and makes them a bit more resilient and a bit more tough to take down. But is it just me, or does Beast's special seem very similar to what Squirrel Girl's special is as well? Or is that just me? Comment down below what you guys think, because I'll be interested to know which one you guys think's better or which one you guys think's worse. Because from what I can see, she heals the Young Avengers, whereas Beast heals outside of the X-Men team, which is good. They both clear negative effects, but Squirrel Girl clears all negative effects from allies, which I really like, as there's only a handful of characters that can do this, whereas Beast just clears it for himself, which isn't as helpful as Squirrel Girl's one. They both do damage, but Beast does AoE damage, and Squirrel Girl calls for an assist instead, and she calls this from the highest damage dealer. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing actually, because if you run Squirrel Girl on another team, she could call in Black Bolt, which could be cool. She could even call in Symbiote Spider-Man, who at the same time is going to apply defense down, which is really useful. So comment down below which one you guys prefer and which one you guys think's better. In terms of where I think this is going to be useful, I think that it could be useful depending on how much Beast is going to heal, and it's going to be the same situation for Squirrel Girl as well. Now, in terms of War and Blitz, I feel like this is just going to add value to a team that's already dominating in these game modes. They perform really well in War and Blitz already. I feel like this is just going to make them an even more dominating team. In terms of raids, I feel like we need to know exactly how much Beast is going to be healing, and to do that we need to know what his stats are going to be like. We also need to know how fast he's actually going to be. If he's a slow character but he's providing a big amount of heals, then he's not going to get turns that often, and in a turn-based game, speed is very important. So we need to know how quickly he's going to move, so we don't get a very slow heal. We want to know how frequent we're going to be actually able to use this, even if you're allowed to use this ability every 3 turns. We need to know how quickly he's going to be moving. So I feel like we won't be able to give a full depth analysis until we know how quickly he's going to be moving. In terms of DD3, it's the same situation. If he's not moving fast enough, and even if this ability is on a low cooldown, he's not going to be that valuable. But if he's moving quickly and he's giving a big amount of heal, he could actually be a very useful character in DD3 for the global nodes and the very beginning of Dark Dimension, when you pair him with maybe Colossus and Phoenix. And I know a lot of characters have Phoenix, so this could actually be pretty useful, but it's going to depend on Beast's stats. Anyway, let's take a look at the ultimate, Mutant Enhancement. Now, I really like this ability, and I think that it's going to be a very strong ability depending on how it's going to work. Now, the way I've interpreted it, it looks like it's going to provide offense up to blasters and brawlers as well as X-Men allies. Now, if that is the case, then this could have value inside the X-Men team, but also outside of an X-Men team. Now, inside the X-Men team, this is going to be a really good skill because it's going to give offense up to pretty much the entire team. So you're going to have characters like Phoenix, Wolverine, and Cyclops getting offense up, so they're going to be hitting a lot harder. Now, in a nutshell, just to speed this video up, this ability is going to give offense up, defense up, speed and regen to pretty much your whole X-Men team, which means they're going to be hitting harder, they're going to be taking less damage, moving faster and healing at the same time, as well as Beast's other ability in his special, which heals. So this is going to make them an even better team in places like Blitz and War, and it's just going to make them dominate even more in game modes like that. Now, in terms of raids, I think that Beast has value outside of this team if it's interpreted the way I see it. So if it's going to be providing offense up to blasters and brawlers, that means you're going to have the likes of Ultron and Black Bolt getting offense up, as well as characters like Symbiote Spider-Man and Carnage getting offense up as well outside of the X-Men team, which will be really good because it's going to mean that you're going to have characters like Black Bolt, Symbiote Spider-Man and Carnage, Ultron if you're still using him in raids, hitting a lot more harder. Now, if we take a look at the rest of his ultimate, he's going to give defense up to protector and controller allies, which means that you're going to have characters like Hela, who is a controller who's going to be getting defense up. Invisible Woman or Yo-Yo are also going to be getting defense up because they're protectors, which is really good. He's going to be giving speed up as well as ability energy to characters like Minerva, Scientist Supreme and Ebony Maw because they're support characters, which means that they're going to be taking turns a lot more quickly. As well as that, their long cooldowns are going to be sped up, meaning that you can use their stuff like healing a lot more quickly. Now, this is only if they haven't messed up the text and that everything we see here is interpreted the way I'm calling it. If it's interpreted the way I'm calling it, then this is going to be a very useful ability, and it's providing a lot of viability to other teams, and these are characters that people typically are using in U7 at the moment, which is really good. Now, in terms of how much ability energy he's going to be granting to the likes of Ebony Maw, Minerva or Scientist Supreme, if I had to guess, I would imagine that they're probably going to allow only one ability energy. But if you think about it for a second, if he gives any more than one ability energy to any of these characters, that is going to be huge. So we need to know exactly how much ability energy he's giving to these support characters, because if he gives anything more than one, that is going to be massive, and that alone I think will make me take a look at investing into Beast and pouring my resources into him, and maybe even bringing him into Dark Dimension for my second run. But we'll see. Let's not be too hasty here. I'm getting a bit too excited, so let's see what happens. Now, the last bit of his ultimate ability says he's going to be applying regen to X-Men allies, and unfortunately this will not work outside of the team, so we're not going to have other teams benefiting from this. But his passive, on the other hand, which I'm going to discuss later, will actually be quite useful in terms of regen. But anyway, in terms of where I think this skill is going to be useful, I think it's going to be useful in pretty much all game modes. We're talking War, Raid, Blitz, Arena, DD3, but it's going to depend on whether this text comes to fruition. Now, some people have said that this might just apply to X-Men allies. If it does, then it's going to mean that a lot of Beast's viability is going to be limited, and I can only pretty much see him being used on the X-Men team. And I'm not sure whether I can warrant investing in him if he's going to make a team that's already really good even better. It would be nice because it means they can dominate more, but if it's not doing much more than that, then I'm not too sure whether he's really needed. We already have some really good teams that we're using in War, and the X-Men team, they're already a really good team, so I don't know if it would be worth investing in him if it's just going to work on X-Men allies. But if it works outside of this ultimate ability is going to be insane, and it's going to be really good. But we'll just have to wait and see when his kit gets released and he's been tested in game. So hopefully I can bring a video on that when he comes out. But for the meantime, let's take a look at his passive. So Beast is passive. So the first bit of his passive is mainly for Phoenix, let's be honest. and it's just going to help 3-star campaigns and challenges, which is good, I guess, because it means that if Phoenix then turns into Dark Phoenix, she's not going to be the reason that you miss out on 3-starring a campaign or challenge, which I like. It makes challenges slightly more easier. But the thing I don't like is once you eventually 3-star the challenges and campaigns, you're going to auto them. So this essentially becomes redundant after that. And the only way I see this not becoming redundant is if they release new campaigns and challenges. And I hate to break it to you, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. It took them quite a while to release these campaigns and challenges before. In fact, it took a whole movement. Some say they were going to do this before, others say that the movement helped get this sped up, but we only just got new content recently, and with them focusing on things like ISO 8 and new character releases and new advanced options and potentially an Ultimus store, I don't see them bringing any campaigns and challenges out for a while, especially with the current circumstances. That might have delayed things as well, because I think a few characters got pushed back because of current circumstances. But you might get use out of this on event campaigns. So event campaigns do come more frequently, and they do require 3 stars in order for you to auto them the first time round. And we did just have a Domino event campaign, and we're going to have another Squirrel Girl event campaign, so they do pop up more frequently. But this is only going to be useful if you're allowed to bring Beast and 2 other X-Men characters with him. And typically these event campaigns require certain tags, so if X-Men allies don't have those tags, this is kind of going to be useless and redundant after you've done it the first time round. So long story short, I don't know about this skill. I feel like it's a little bit redundant, especially for players who've already done campaigns and 3-starred them, and some people have even done the challenges already without having Beast in their team. So I'm not sure how useful it will be for them, but for players who haven't done this, you guys are getting a huge advantage here, and this will definitely help make your life a lot easier. So for newer players, I feel like it's gonna definitely benefit you, and it's a more player friendly type of skill, which is nice. Now, I really like the second part of his passive, because he's gonna be applying regen to the most injured ally on the team, which is really good, because then if a character is really close to dying or is taking a big hit, then he's at least going to be applying regen to them, which is going to be really helpful. He's going to be really helping teams outside of the X-Men team, which is good. But if he is inside the X-Men team, he's going to be healing that character as well as applying regen to them. So it's going to make this team a little bit more tanky and bring a little bit more survivability to the team, which I really like. And one thing I really like about Beast's kit, some of his abilities are very much for himself or his X-Men allies, which is fine, but I like it when characters can provide abilities that help other teams, because it leaves room for theory crafting and building hybrid teams, which I really like doing, because then you get a lot more value for a character when you invest time and resources into them. So I like that. Now, lastly, we have the very last bit of his passive. This is very much just for him and his X-Men allies, and it's just going to give them a little more resistance. Not sure how much resistance, but that will also be good. It'll bring more durability and survivability to the team, just make an already good team even better with this. So outside the X-Men team doesn't really do anything, but inside the X-Men team it'll do a little bit more. So that is Beast's kit in a wrap. In terms of his passive, I feel like he's just going to be making the X-Men a more raid viable team, which is fine. I'm completely happy with that. The problem with that is, who am I going to take off in raids? Because Phoenix is really good in raids, but she's only really good for one node. Once she dies and turns into Dark Phoenix, you have to refresh her every time you want to use her, and that can be really expensive for players. So essentially, if you want, you're going to use Phoenix one time, and then you're going to have to run it without Phoenix, but with Beast in and the other X-Men characters. I don't know how effective that's going to be, but for some reason I feel like that just might not work. So I'm not really too sure if it's going to make Xmen, the new raid meta team. I don't see that happening. I just can't see it happening. If it does, I will eat my words and I will take my hat off and fair play, but I don't think I can see that happening. Now, to finish up on my review here, I feel like he's gonna bring a lot more to the Xmen team, but they're already a good team. So he's just gonna be making them a bit stronger, faster, more survivability, taking less damage, and that's what he's really going to bring to this team. And he's going to be healing them quite a bit, but we're going to need to know how much he's healing for every turn. We're going to need to know how much he heals the two most injured characters, and the only way we can know that is by knowing how big his health pool is going to be and how much of a percent of his health is going to go towards these characters. On top of that, we need to know how fast Beast is actually going to be moving. One thing I forgot to mention on his ultimate is that his ultimate says it does support characters. So as well as Ebony Maw, Scientist Supreme, and Minerva, he's actually going to be giving ability energy to himself and speeding himself up as well. So even if it's slow, this could actually help him out as well. But if he's already a fast character and on top of this, he's going to be sped up himself, then this could actually be really, really good. So we're going to need to know how fast Beast is actually going to be moving. In terms of arena, don't think he's going to bring too much more. I feel like Black Order is still going to stay the dominant team. You might start to see some teams with Beast on there, but it's not going to be straight away because people are going to have to rank him up high enough for them to even bring him in. So don't expect to see him straight away. In terms of Dark Dimension 3, it's the same as I said before. We need to know how quick he's moving, how big his stats are, to know how effective he's going to be in Dark Dimension 3, because in Dark Dimension 3, characters get taken down very quickly. So if the character's very slow, then they're not going to be bringing much to the table. And that's one of the problems with Ultron. He's quite a slow character, and one of the ways to speed him up is when he summons his bots, and then they speed him up and they give him offense up and all these positive effects, but he can't get that train running. He's not that effective of a character. So we need to know how quickly Beast is going to be moving to apply these positive effects and be healing these characters. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of Beast's kit. Let me know if you would have changed anything, if there's anything you would have liked to see, or whether you think he's a trash character. Let me know if you guys are going to invest in him and pour your resources into this guy. For me, I'm not too sure whether I'm going to do that. I feel like I need to see exactly what he's going to be doing, i.e. I need to see how much he's going to be healing for, how fast he's going to be moving, because that's going to clinch it for me, to be honest with you. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like on the video, smash that subscribe button real quick, hit the notifications bell so you know when I upload. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.